All right, good morning everybody. Good morning Franklin County science students. So we could not think of a better way than to bring you outside to the estuary, to Apalachicola Bay, and we're going to do kind of a little investigation, pull some nets, see what's out there. I work, as most of y'all would know, at the Nature Center right down the street. Remember now, people call that the estuary, but this is the estuary, Apalachicola Bay, where saltwater from the ocean, the Gulf of Mexico, and fresh water all the way over there in Apalachicola from the Apalachicola River come together. So it's one of the most productive habitats there is. That means lots and lots of living stuff out there. Two of my co-workers that you've probably met before. Josh is out there, he's on the right side, and then in the white shirt is Gibby. So we all work at the Nature Center, and we're pulling what they call a seine net. It's spelled S-E-I-N-E, seine net. And it's basically just a very small hold net with floats on top to keep the top of the net up near the surface of the water, which right now is very low because it's so shallow, it's just off a low tide. And then there's a string of weights along the bottom, kind of like there is on the cast net. And the fish don't really get entrapped. It's not like the net encompasses them and traps them like a trawl net, a shrimp net would, or a cast net would, but it's more like an invisible wall that you're just sort of slowly moving through the water. And we're going to pull it up here in a minute and we'll check out what we've got.
Didn't get those till right there. There was nothing.
Nothing? All right, let's go down here where his bin is and dump it in there. Oh.
10 inches, 8 inches, 10 inches.
Did you take off real fast? Or you think
He was in front of us. Yeah. When we were going out.
All right, keep going your way, Joe. Most of these mullet I'm going to put straight in that bucket unless let's see if there's different. All right, let's get crab in that bin. Some of the things that we caught in the seine net, and in this bin we've got just some salty brackish water, that's salt and fresh water mixed together, and we caught a lot of little tiny grass shrimp. So these are shrimp that live in the marsh or in the mud, and they don't grow very large, so they're not the type of shrimp that we typically would eat, although the type of shrimp that we eat also start off this size or smaller. And you can see at least one of them. She's on the bottom. I'm going to point to it right here from the back. See that one right there? That larger one, how she's got a brown mass kind of underneath her? That is a bunch of eggs. And they're outside her body. It's kind of weird. They're already on the outside, so those are fertilized eggs that she's holding and getting ready to release so they can hatch. And every so often you can see these little things move when she's moving, and that's what she's holding that mass of eggs together on her underside. They're not an invertebrate. This would be a type of algae called sea lettuce. Some of y'all that came in 5th grade, you probably saw that out in the marsh, growing with the marsh plants. And then another invertebrate that we caught in here, and he's probably going to pinch me, is our little blue crab. He's trying to pinch me. And even though it does not look like an adult blue crab would with blue and red on it, you can still tell that it's a blue crab. You can tell by the shape because it's got points. The top of its shell has points, and I know he's going to pinch me when I do this, but he's small, so I'll risk it for y'all. All right, let me see if I can get him. There he is. Ouch, 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 ouch. When you spread their claws, see that little red dot right inside the claw there? That's a dead giveaway that that's a blue crab. There are other crabs that we get that are shaped like this that you'll catch, say, on the outside of St. George Island, but they're sort of a slightly different color, but shaped almost the same, but they do not have that red dot. So that's a dead giveaway that that is a juvenile blue crab. So this crab, here in another month or so, that water temperature will come up. Usually when that water temperature gets just around 70 degrees, a little bit less, these crabs are stimulated to molt by that rise in temperature. They form a new shell underneath this hard shell. It'd be like if you took a big parka jacket and shoved it underneath your smaller shirt, and the crab comes out, it sheds or molts, comes out, and it's larger, but it's soft, and so it has to stay in the water for a little while, and the shell eventually sort of expands out. It's usually about 1/3 larger every time it molts, and then after several hours that shell will harden back up. But during that time, that's what a soft-shell crab is. When you eat soft-shell crabs, that's a crab that molted, that somebody caught right after it molted. The shell had not hardened up yet, didn't have time to, and then they took it out of the water and killed the crab, took the guts out like you would do if you were going to eat it. So by doing that, the crab's shell won't harden, it stays soft. There's a type of jellyfish that we get in the bay, and there's a couple different species. I'm not really familiar on the names of the different species, but it's called a comb jelly, C-O-M-B. And right now its tentacles are out, they're back here. And so they don't sting. It's a non-stinging jellyfish, but they're sticky. So they stick to their prey like a tiny fish or shrimp, and then they would pull it inside the chamber in there. And if you look at that jellyfish, it's not just a blob. You can see all these little tiny lines they look like railroad tracks. It's like a line with lines going through it. Those are the cilia. Those are the hairs that thing is moving itself through the water. One of the cool things about these comb jellies is when there's bioluminescence in the water, that's that algae that actually produces light and gives off light like a lightning bug would do. They don't bioluminesce themselves, but they eat the algae, and when the algae's inside their body and it's moving along those cilia, I've been to the marine lab before where under a microscope we could see it looked like a neon sign. It was like phosphorescence moving down the jellyfishes, the lines of those little hairs. If we had caught a snail, that would have been an invertebrate. Hermit crab, just a different type of crab that lives in a snail's empty shell, that's an invertebrate. Now we're going to look at our vertebrates. Those are animals that have a backbone that we caught in the net. And we did accidentally get a couple of invertebrates, another crab and a shrimp, so just kind of ignore them. A majority of what we caught were finger mullet. So there's the largest fish that's in there, the one that just darted around. It's got somewhat of a forked tail. It's just a sort of torpedo shaped, silvery color. Those are mullet. So they're called black mullet or striped mullet. The small ones they call finger mullet because they're small like a finger. The other fish that we caught is probably one of the most common, other than mullet, in the bay, and they call that a spot. And it's got kind of like stripes on its back that only go to the midline, that lateral line down their side. Let me see if we can, it's the second largest one in there. It's swimming around on the bottom. So we've got a couple of those, a couple of mullet, and then we've got these long silver or kind of whitish fish with a silver line on the side. Those are bay anchovies. Same type of anchovy if you eat anchovies on your pizza, same critter. We get another fish that looks a lot like that, almost identical, and it's called a silver side. They both are white with a silver line, but the difference is in the mouth. There's a different fish right there I didn't even notice, right up there near him. It's a type of killifish, right there, see him? That's definitely not a mullet. I think that's a type of killifish, I'm not sure. It doesn't look like a long-nosed killifish, but it's something different. A lot bigger than that. They get a few feet long. Definitely would not be able to keep him alive in the aquarium, or when Miss Moore had her aquarium, that would be too fragile. Probably get sucked in the filter. When you look at this anchovy, it's a pretty small fish, and the mouth doesn't look really very remarkable, but if you can get it and you open it, it's like expando.
Wow.
And it really opens up, and down inside they're gill rakers. All fish have gill rakers, but what anchovies do is they swim through the water with their mouths open like a baleen whale, and they get oxygen on their gills, but they also trap their food on their gills.